O son of Kunti.
O son of Kunti.
Prakritim.
Prakritim.
Nature.
Nature.
Yanti.
Yanti.
Enter.
Enter.
Mamikam.
Mamikam.
My. Kalpashaye.
Kalpashaye.
At the end of the millennium.
At the end of the millennium.
Punnaha.
Punaha.
Again. Tani.
Tani.
All those. Kalpa Ado.
Kalpa Ado.
In the beginning of the millennium.
In the beginning of the millennium.
Vishyami. Vishyami. Create. Aham. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He says, Krishna says, O son of Kunti. Son of Kunti means Arjuna. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So, any questions about this? It's pretty clear that Krishna is saying He's the one who organizes everything. Maybe not directly, but ultimately. Purport: the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. At the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives 100 years, and his day is calculated as 4,300,000,000 of our earthly years. His night is the same duration. His month consists of 36 days and nights, and his years of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifest by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in Himself. And again, when there is need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by His will. Bhayam Svam. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism, Chandogaya Upanishad. He expands Himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. So this defeats the Advaitavadis. They say everything is one, but here we see there's a creator. So He's different than the creation. We've been reading over the last few days this point that Krishna and the creation are different. Krishna is aloof. At the same time, nothing's outside of God. So there's a oneness, just like the government is one, but it has different departments. So the different departments, there's Krishna Himself and His immediate expansions, like Narayan and Nrsimha. These are called Vishnu Tattva. Then there's the living entity. They're called Jiva Tattva. The living entities are the particle of God. They're the same quality as God, but they're very small. And because they're small, sometimes they become covered by the third energy. Third energy means material energy. So this is our position. Now we're covered by the material energy. We're not meant to undergo the old age, disease, and death. These things are the working of the material energy. But actually, we're aloof from that material energy, but we're attached to it, and so we remain, you can say, victimized by it, or subjected to its laws. Nobody can say, I don't want to get old. Who wants to become old? But old age is inevitable, unless we die young. So old age, disease, death, these are some of the symptoms of the material conditioned soul who's in this world. So the whole thrust of the Bhagavad Gita is how to get out of the material world and come back to our original position where we have eternal life full of knowledge and bliss. This is the real interest of Krishna. He's telling Arjuna this philosophy that you're not meant to suffer. Your nature is the same as my nature, eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. But why is the suffering there? The suffering is there because we're misidentifying matter as ourselves. Everybody's thinking, I'm an American, I'm an Indian, I'm black, I'm white, I'm male, I'm female. But this is not who we really are. We're the Atma, who happen to be in a male body or female body or old body or young body. So Krishna is helping us come to understand our actual position as spirit soul. Text number not 8. Let's look this whole. One more. Prakritim svam avastibhya vishwajami puna puna bhuta pranam imam kritsnam avasam prakritir vasat. Just a translation. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifest again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. But this is clear that Krishna is different than the living entity. So those who say, no, everything is one, that's a half-truth. And it's sometimes half-truth is more dangerous than out-and-out falsity. Like the atheists, they say, no, there's no God. Everything is matter. And when we're dead, everything is finished. So we can refute that easily by saying, well, who created everything? What happens to the soul when it leaves the body? But the impersonalists, they're also like atheists, but they claim to be following the Vedas. And so they give us a half-truth. Yes, you're the soul, and everything is the soul. Everything is one. There's no distinction. But then they eliminate God from the picture. Who is the creator? And if everything is one, how is it that now there's distinction? Where has the distinction come from? Where has the separation come from? That you're not me, I'm not you. There's a distinction. So how has that distinction come about? There must be another force that creates that distinction. So therefore, their argument is defeated. Everything is not one because you're not me and I'm not you. And we have our own individual karma. They accept the theory of karma, even the Buddhists, but they can't explain who's keeping the accounts of that karma. Okay, purport, you want to read, Michael?
Sure, Maharaj. Purport, the material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahatattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes. And into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Shidodakashayi Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything.
Go ahead.
Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by His will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of God. And after creating different species of life, He has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Sanjay? But we see that sometimes they do, like Mozart. He knew how to play the piano when he was like 3 years old. So it can be that from the we do bring some things with us, but generally we forget, and so we have to learn again. But the inclination is that why is some child very intelligent at the beginning, even as a 5-year-old, he's always the first in the class and so on. So that's from the past life. Some things we're carrying from. Obviously, there's a change. Just like now, you can change. You've been acting in a certain way in this life, so you have the free will to change your behavior. Just like we. I'll give an example. Like before I met Srila Prabhupada, our main goal was to how to enjoy the senses, how to enjoy, eat, drink, and be merry. That was my philosophy, and so I was acting in that way. What was favorable for my sense gratification, whether it was women or money or whatever. But now, since I became a follower of Srila Prabhupada, that's not my motive. My motive is how to please Srila Prabhupada, because I see that's my real self-interest. In other words, I've changed completely my goal. Instead of trying to please my senses, now I'm trying to please my spiritual master in Krishna. So how is that change possible? Because in the human form of life, we have this capacity to see how the karma is working and not just remain a victim of our own nature, but to transcend it. Yeah, we forget that. Well, that's the nature of death. We forget. This is also a way to, but God doesn't forget. He's in our heart, and he's giving us what we deserve, what we desire. So there's no cruelty in the arrangement, but death means we forget. That's the difference between us and Krishna. Like when he's speaking in the 4th chapter, he says that he spoke this subject to Vibhishan, the sun god, some millions of years ago. And Krishna, Arjuna says, how is it possible that I was there also? So the difference, Krishna says, is that you forget, but I don't forget. Krishna doesn't change his body like we do. But because we're small, we're conditioned, so we're under the law of material nature. So, but this should give us impetus to understand that this is not our real home, this forgetfulness, this material world where we suffer and go into death. This is like a prison house. Why are we in the prison house? Because we've rebelled against God. In the spiritual world, everybody agrees to put God in the center. But here in the material world, due to false ego, everyone puts themselves in the center, individual to individual, nation to nation. Just like now, you're India and China. They're fighting again, practically. Why is that? Because I'm Chinese, I love the Chinese the most. I'm Indian, I love the Indian the most. And so the fighting goes on like this, on the false platform. And this is the symptom of the material world. So we want to come to the real platform. Then we'll have peace. Real platform is, I'm a servant of the Lord. Let me do something to please him. So yeah, we're in an awkward position. We forget. So we want to stay qualified so that we don't have to go through another birth. We have to die, that's okay. But we don't have to be born again in the material world. We can get a spiritual body and enter into the spiritual world where we have eternal life, knowledge, and bliss. Why not try for that? Go, Tom, any question?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Maggie. So some of what you've been talking about kind of relates to what is relevant in some of mine and my friends' lives at the moment. Someone recently had a death in their family, and, just talking about that, it raised the question, what is the purpose of life? Which I know it's discussed in all religions. But, we have a physical body, and then our soul, I guess, departs.
And we have a subtle body also, which is made of mind, intelligence, and ego. So we have two bodies. We have a subtle body that you can't see. I can't see your mind, but I know you have a mind. So Bhagavad Gita explains we have two bodies. We have the gross body made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. We have a subtle body made of mind, intelligence, and ego. And then we have the soul. The soul is separate from either of these. Well, go ahead now, but I think I interrupted Maggie.
That's okay. Well, the question really is, what is the purpose of our physical body here if we have a soul and it can be, it can go from body to body and is eternal. So what's the purpose of life? What is the purpose of us being here?
Yeah. So we say the purpose of life is to understand, first of all, I'm not this body, I'm the soul, and therefore I should try to act in such a way that I don't get another material body. So this is what Krishna is offering Arjuna. He says in the 4th chapter, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha taktodeham panarjana naitimameti sojuna. What does he say? Janma karma. He tells Arjuna, if you understand my birth and activities, Janma karma, properly, then you don't come back to the material world. You get a spiritual body and you join with me. Naiti mameti sojuna. Naiti means not again. You don't again come to the material world. You get a spiritual body where you live eternally with Krishna. This is our goal. So now we're in an awkward position. Yeah, why do we have a material body? Because we're fools. Why are we fools? Because we want to put ourselves in the center. In the spiritual world, everyone agrees to put God in the center, but we're so foolish we think we belong in the center. And so we're shunted out of the spiritual world. Okay, you want to imagine you're in the center? Then come to the material world, where everybody has this disease. Therefore, there's no peace in this world because everyone loves themselves the most. And so naturally there's quarrel and cheating. How much cheating is there? Because everyone loves themselves the most. And this is the way the material world is arranged, so that an intelligent person will become frustrated and say, I'm tired of this life of birth and death and cheating and suffering from my own mind and body, suffering from the other living entities, suffering from the nature, too cold, too hot, and where I have to die. Why do I want to stay in this place? But because of attachment, we remain here. At the end of life, we don't think of Krishna. We think, oh, I didn't finish this business. Forgot. What about my wife? And so we get another body. But if we think of Krishna, then we get a spiritual body. That's our choice. That's okay, Maggie?
Yeah, so it's almost like, it sounds like you're saying that the body isn't a good thing. It's a prison, almost. It's not.
That's right.
Not what you're attaining for. Your goal is.
Our goal is to get a spiritual body.
To get a spiritual body. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sanjay, you had a comment, huh?
Sorry. No, you. I finished.
Go ahead, Sanjay. Yeah, he tells why he comes. In order to deliver the pirates and to annihilate the miscreants, I descend, birth after millennium after millennium. He comes just to tell us, why are you rotting here in the material world? Or he sends his servant or messenger, like Muhammad, like Lord Jesus, and like our Srila Prabhupada. They're coming here to wake us up out of this illusion, this Maya. So Krishna, that's his mercy. He comes to speak Bhagavad Gita, to give us a chance to get out of this place. Otherwise, by perfect justice, we have to remain here forever. Sometimes the Christians say that. You go to hell forever and ever and ever and ever. But that's the wrong idea. No, Krishna's merciful. He gives us a chance. He remains in our heart. If we turn to him, then we can get out of this place. But we don't turn to him. That's the problem. He can't force us because it's based on love. Yeah, that's true. But out of mercy, he comes.
Causeless mercy.
Yeah. He doesn't like to see us suffering. So he sends his servant or son or representative, or he comes himself with the same message. Please love God with your whole heart, your whole soul, your whole mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Then you can come to me. But instead of loving our neighbor, we cheat them. We think how we can dominate them. The Chinese are becoming crazy like this now, right? What they're doing in Hong Kong, what they're threatening in Taiwan, what they're doing in India. They're becoming crazy. It's like Hitler became crazy. Deutschland over all. Blah, 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 blah. Thinking he's the Lord of the whole creation. Yeah. Well, because it's very subtle. If you have an attachment for it, if you think this is a nice life, and then you get another body like that, you can continue in this so-called nice life. But the problem is, it may change in the future. He can come again to the lower nature, the goodness, passion, and ignorance. So he may be in the mode of goodness, doing good work, but then that can change to the mode of passion, and then he becomes too much, involved in sex life and trying to enjoy this world. You squeeze out some pleasure, and then it comes into ignorance. There's a nice explanation here Prabhupada gives, if you want to read. It's in chapter 14, text number 6. Maybe Michael can read it. Can you jump ahead to that, Michael?
Yes, 1 second.
Chapter 14, text number 6, the second paragraph of the purport. This verse is discussing the mode of goodness.
The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant.
Any other points? Okay, that's a good question. But we say there is a desire. The desire is, first of all, according to our philosophy, this body doesn't belong to you. You don't have a right to take it. So we say the suicide is a sin. The body is not yours. It was created by the Lord, and it should be used in the service of the Lord. There's a nice example of that in our teachings. One of the devotees was thinking of suicide, and the Lord understood his mind. He said, "You're a thief. You've given your body to me to use in my as I think is proper, and now you want to take it back." So suicide is not proper because it's not your body. That you don't have a right to take it and destroy it. You may think you have that right, but actually you don't. The body belongs to God, and it should be used in God's service. So those who commit suicide, they get a ghostly situation. Ghostly means they have the subtle body. I was talking about the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and ego. So then they have only a subtle body, but no gross body. So they create disturbance. The ghosts are there. Ghosts are there means they were committed suicide. That's one of the reasons how one becomes a ghost.
I have a comment to make, Maharaj. This suicide, so, you're in a human form of life. There's already so much karma from as soon as you enter into the material world. You become entangled in your desires. You forget who you are. So much good and bad karma that are going to keep you bound up in the cycle of samsara. So this person, they want to commit suicide because they think it'll bring everything to zero. But actually, they're just committing more karma. It's an activity. They're taking their own life, so then they get more karmic reaction, and they have to stay in the material world suffering, but now they've been deprived of a gross body for a while, and they have to stay in a subtle ghostly body. So out of ignorance, they think that they can bring everything to zero and find some kind of peace in that way, but actually the consciousness will continue.
Yeah, and it's similar to the Buddhist philosophy, make everything zero. But that for us is a spiritual suicide. We want a position, a spiritual position. They say the ego is bad, but we say no, false ego is bad, but real ego is, I am the servant of God. That's also an identity. Ego means identity. So false ego, yes, we should give up. False ego is I'm American, I'm black, I'm white. But real ego is I'm a servant of God. So if we come to that point, then we can be happy. But otherwise, just trying to eliminate the ego, either by suicide or by this impersonal philosophy, that won't bring us happiness. We need a position. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, they can understand that they made a mistake. No, but they have a mind. They have a mind and intelligence. Yeah, but they can come instead of haunting people in their ghostly body, they can come and listen to our satsang, and then they'll benefit. In other words, they still have free will. Who are they associating with? They're ghostly persons. They generally, it's a bad association. But if they choose, they can have good association, and then they can improve themselves. And then in the next position, they'll get a human body like that. I'm not expert on that. There's so many living entities. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There's so many living entities. It's not guaranteed that you're going to meet the same persons again and again. So that's all right. I'm not. I think I'm neutral about that. Maybe we do, or maybe we don't. But we generally go to the Shastra to find out what is the authoritative idea. So I haven't read anything where it says that we necessarily get the same association, birth after birth. But it may be because of our desire. You see, at the time of death, the two things are factored: what we desire and what we deserve. So the desire may bring us again into the same association that we had previously. Anyway, let's move on. I wanted to finish one more verse here. Text 9. Ma chamamya tani karmani nibananti dhananjaya udasina yadasmanam ashaktam teshu karmasu. Oh, Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is another name of Arjuna. All this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. Purport, Michael?
Purport. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. In his spiritual world, he is always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Atma Ramasya Tasyasti Prakritya Na Samagama. He is always involved in his eternal, blissful, spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. Material activities are being carried on by his different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is mentioned here with the word udasina vat. Although he has control over every minute detail of material activities, he is sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged. Someone is being put into jail. Someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth. But still, he is neutral. He has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is stated, Vaishamya Naigrinhya Na. He is not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities. Nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord doesn't interfere with them.
Any comments? But sometimes the Lord does get involved, just like he came and provided Draupadi unlimited sorry. Why was that? Because his devotee is not really in this world in one sense. In other words, out of devotion, we can transcend this material world, and then the Lord takes interest in us. Otherwise, if we're not in love with the Lord, then the law is working. But mercy is higher than justice. The law is working with perfect justice. There's no injustice in the karma. But higher than justice is mercy. So how do we get the mercy of the Lord? That's the secret. We say that's the what we're trying to qualify ourselves. How to draw the mercy of the Lord, even here in the material world. He's ready to help us. He's ready to get involved, but he doesn't have to. He'll only do it if we really want him. Like Draupadi, first she was calling on her husbands. They didn't help her. Then she called on the elders. They didn't help her. Then she tried herself to protect herself, but she couldn't. Then she finally surrendered. Krishna! Then Krishna was attracted. Krishna came. You know the story, right? That's a famous story. So it takes that kind of real devotion to attract the Lord, to come into this material world. Otherwise, he's seated as neutral. Why should he get involved? Let them go on. The demons are fighting each other.
I have one comment, Maharaj.
Please.
Like, we see that the Lord is sitting in everyone's heart as a Paramatma, the super soul. So he's like a witness to all of our activities. Then when you leave your gross body, this is kind of referring to what we were speaking about earlier. When you leave your gross body, you're still engaged in your subtle body, and your subtle body has, from the mind, intelligence, and false ego, it has all these desires that you were carrying on from your previous life. Then as you reincarnate into a new body, due to your past karma, you may have so many innate talents, or you're more disposed to certain things, like you might be naturally a good musician or very athletic or something. And in this way, Krishna, as the super soul, he's pointing you to fulfill your desires from the past life. And in that way, in one sense, you do have to start ABCs, learn how to walk, but you have this certain disposition. You have a certain type of intelligence given due to your past karma that makes you excel at whatever you were aiming for in your previous life. And then in terms of this last purport that we were just reading, where Srila Prabhupada mentions a judge as a neutral party, there's another example of this in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that I like as well. It's that they mention that the Lord is neutral like a parent, because it's neutral, but there's a lot of love. And then you can see if you have two children, and one of them is behaving nicely, and one of them is behaving naughty, you reward the nice behavior, and you punish the bad behavior, but actually you are neutral. You're only acting out of love, because out of love for the child, you want to encourage them when they're doing well, and you want to correct them when they're doing wrong, and ultimately it's for their benefit. And it's not that because you're punishing that there's no love. So in the same way, God is neutral with everyone, but according to how we are acting, he's reciprocating with us.
But he doesn't do that directly in the material world.
Yeah.
He has his agents to do that. Like Maya is also an agent of the Lord. We don't see like a diabolical devil. This is a wrong conception. This is an imagination. There's no devil who takes pleasure in making us suffer. There may be demons, but there's no diabolical demon or devil that can controlling everything. Every living entity, by misuse of free will, it comes under the grip of Maya. But if we can qualify to again enter into the spiritual world, Maya will congratulate us. She's not diabolical. She doesn't hate us. She's doing a thankless task of keeping us separated from the Lord until we again become pure, so that we don't cause the disturbance in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there's no disturbance because everyone puts God in the center. So when we come to that point of putting God in the center, then Maya will be happy to assist us in going back to the spiritual world. She won't. This is a wrong conception that the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians have, that somehow God is vengeful and he keeps us here for sadistically in some way. You follow my point?
Mm.
Anybody wants to defend the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jews?
I would chime in on that one.
Yeah. Good. You want to make a comment?
Yeah. I'm was born and raised Christian. I'm here in this this thing with you guys tonight because I am not closed off to learning other things, and I want to broaden my mind to what other people have to say and not be so. I'm convicted, but not. I'm always open. But I will say, being raised as a Christian, what you just said, and you have to forgive me because my memory is not that great, but the statement that you had just made, I was never taught that way, that God was vengeful, and that he would put or punish us.
Okay, I was also brought up as a Christian, but we were taught as a Roman Catholic that you can go to hell forever and ever 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 and ever.
Yeah, that's I would say there, when you just said that you were Catholic, that I don't want to sound rude, that's not what I mean, but that explains it, because I'm Christian, I was not Catholic, and I believe that their beliefs were different than what my beliefs were, and I was always raised that our God was never vengeful. So I would say
That's good, and that's why you're able to listen to us. But there are Christians like that. I meet them on the street quite regularly. You're going to hell.
oh my goodness. Yes, I do agree with that. I do know that they are out there and they give the rest of us Christians a bad name.
Well, I'm happy to meet a good Christian.
I'm not saying I'm a good Christian either. I will never be, whatever, but I do want to say that I appreciate listening to what you have to say, and I find comfort in
What's your name again?
My name is Faith.
Faith. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sanjay said that you were going to be here. That's a nice name you have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But I appreciate and I want to thank you for everything you're saying tonight. I can appreciate the similarities, and I also appreciate the dissimilarities. It's food for thought.
Good. Thank you for your comments, Faith.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to mute myself again.
Anyone else? What about Maggie? Any comments?
Yeah, I was a lot of discussions about God and about spiritual beliefs. So and again, I think it's nice that people aren't so strict in their one belief that they can't listen and be open to, because I think what we're discussing here is not a religion; it's a spiritual belief and a way of living and life, and so many of those things come into people who have different views and in this world. So yeah.
Thank you for joining with us. Anyone else has comment?
I think she just left my house, Sanjay. She was driving, so she might not be on be able to talk. Yeah, she's on the call, but I think she's driving.
What about Mr. Gautam? No, I want to hear something from him. Mr. Gautam, you're not going to enlighten us? He's not here, huh? Oh, what about Somesh? Yeah, Anika, he was here last week. You weren't here. Sanjaya, you weren't here. But Somesh. Anyway, that's okay. But this is the nice verse that we could do one more verse.
This is chapter 10.
Text number 10. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunane kunteya jagad viparti vartate. This material energy, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and immoving, non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So again, God is one, but he has different energies. Go ahead, purport.
It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in BhagvadGita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species, according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature, without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot do anything. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities.
Okay. Any comments?
I have a comment, I guess. In one way, this is similar to ourselves, that God, he doesn't directly get involved with the material energy. And in the same way, the soul is not directly involved with the material energy in one sense, because we, being made out of spiritual energy, we cannot interact directly with the material energy. It's like oil and water, how they don't mix. So in order for living entities to come into this world, they take a covering. We take subtle covering and gross covering, like we've been talking about. And through those coverings, we can interface with the material energy and become, we can pretend that we have control over that energy. And that's kind of like the question Maggie asked earlier about what is the purpose of the human or the life. So the purpose of life is that you had some desire separate from God. So God, through his mercy, he allows you, he's not going to oblige you into a situation where you have to be forced, contradict, like you have free will, and he's not going to interfere with your free will. So there's a reality where you can act out your free will according to your own desires, and this is that reality. So in this reality, we are encaged in this body that's made more or less according to our desires and our past karma. And then it's like you're taking a ticket, due to our karma, we bought a ticket, and now we're on an airplane, and the airplane is going to Miami. But so there's no way, in one sense, you can do anything in that airplane. You can prepare for what's going to happen when you arrive. You can start a fight. You can try to crash the airplane, but you cannot change the destination. So in one way you have free will, and the other way you're kind of stuck, but you're only stuck due to your own decisions. And this is kind of the trap that we're in. But in reality, we're in the human form of life, at least, it's a great opportunity to be able to overcome the animal basic way of life of only focusing on what should I eat, what do I need, how am I going to pay rent, who is going to, I want a family, I want children. We can go above those and start thinking about who am I really, what is this consciousness, etc. Where is God?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And because we have intelligence, we should see that actually we're in an awkward position. Just like on that plane going to Miami. What if we want to go to New York? Well, we can't. We just, change the plane. The plane is going to Miami. So similarly, we're in an awkward position. We're going to death. We don't want to die, but this body is inevitably going to die. So we should take impetus from this awkward position and become serious about making a final solution, which is to develop our spiritual body where we don't have to, again, become subjective to old age, disease, and death. So that process is available in human form of life. If we take it nicely, we can qualify to enter into the spiritual world. And the process begins by rising early in the morning. Morning is the best time for spiritual life. We rise early. Michael comes here to my house at 5:30. We have a first program. Another devotee is also coming. So morning is the best time. And then we also chant this Maha Mantra regularly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this mantra is a spiritual vibration. And Prabhupada used to give the example of iron in the fire. If we keep iron in the fire, it becomes just like fire. So if we keep ourselves immersed in hearing about God and remembering God and chanting His name, like Lord Jesus said, hallowed be thy name. So then we become spiritualized. We won't become God, but we become Krishnized or spiritualized, so that we become qualified to again enter into His kingdom instead of remaining here in this place of misery. It is a place of misery. Those who are saying, no, I'm going to be happy. It's not possible. Dukkalayam, Krishna certifies it's a place of suffering and it's temporary. But the Maya or the illusion is, no, I can be happy here. But who can be happy? The death is waiting. What kind of happiness is that? So is it time for us to stop?
Well, Maharaj, this is Gautam.
Oh, now you're here. We were looking for you.
No, actually, I was actually listening to you, but somehow it was actually a different instrument. I was working on it. But one question I think earlier Sanjay ji actually asked you about the karma. I mean, whatever we're living in this world, I mean, this is because of the last birth, last karma. And but I also heard that is you pay for the karma in the same life. I mean, in this, you have the heaven or hell, you pay for it in the same life. Is that how that works on this?
Not necessarily. It may be many lifetimes. We give the example of planting a tree. So when you get the fruit from the tree, it may take many years for the fruit to come. So similarly, maybe 10 lifetimes ago, we committed some very serious crime, and now we're getting the result. Therefore, people say, oh, he was a good person. Why he had to suffer so badly? But we don't know the whole picture. He looks like a good person, but in a previous life, he may have done something. So now the result is coming. So it's not necessarily that everything is finished up in one lifetime. It may take more than one lifetime for all the karma to work out. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has instructed us to be tolerant. This is the first instruction, to tolerate whatever's coming to us. And then in our heart of hearts, keep the Lord in the center. And then we become the rightful inheritors of the kingdom of God. There's a verse like that. No, but why would we want this power? We're not interested in power. This is like yogis. Yogis may get so many power, but we want to get the power to attract Krishna. That's the highest power. Like Draupadi. She was so powerful that she could defeat the Dusasan and all the Kauravas and all the Bhishma and Drona and everybody in the assembly was defeated because Krishna helped her. So that's the kind of power we want. We want to become so devoted to God that He will personally come and help us. Then what do we need other power for?
Maharaj, one question just arose to my mind because when Sanjay just mentioned something, I remember, and my parents always tells me when I'm back home, you need to get up at the right time and sleep at the right time and eat the right food and everything because you're a Brahmin and your Brahmin birth comes after many number of what you have done, how many number of times you've done the good thing. If you don't do right thing at this time, then it's all worthless. So is that true to take we are in the Brahmin family after doing so many all good things, how that works?
Yeah, you can see that it's a good opportunity to take birth in a Brahmin family, but the reality is we have free will at every moment. We have an example in our tradition that there were two Brahmins who became the biggest sinful persons, Jagai and Madhai. they were performing all kinds of sinful activities. This is in Chaitanya Leela in Bengal. So it's not a guarantee that because I was a Brahmin, I can't misuse my independence and again become the biggest sinner.
Like Ravana was one of the
Yeah.
big Brahmin. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question earlier and I got disconnected. And Kapil was here with me as well at that time. So my question is, like, how do I know good karma versus bad karma? So I give you an example. I was watching TV. So is that a good karma because I'm not doing anything to improve my to go at.
Yeah, let me answer, Somesh.
Yes.
The Bhagavad Gita says all karma, either good or bad, should be transcended. We don't want to have any karma. We want to come to the point of being transcendental to our karma. There's no karma in the spiritual world. Karma is only working in the material world. It's like a prison. The prisoners are under the law of karma. So we're all under the law of karma. So we're not interested in becoming a Class A prisoner. Some prisoners have better facilities than other prisoners if you go to the prison house. But we want to get out of the prison house. That means we should do everything for Krishna. Then we don't get any karma. That was Arjuna's dilemma. He was saying, Krishna, you want to fight, but it'll give me bad karma because I'll have to fight Duryodhana and Drona, and they're my superiors. And how can I fight them? It'll be very bad for me. But Krishna tells him immediately, no, if you do the work for me, then you can transcend your karma and come to the level of Brahman. This is the real. We talk about being a Brahmin, so the Brahmin should come to the level of Brahman. That's described in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the level of Brahman? Nasochati nakanchati, samasave subhutesu. Nasochati nakanchati means no lamentation or no hankering. Samasave subhutesu means you see everyone equal. You don't think, oh, this is my family, and I like them, I hate this person. So Brahmin is a good qualification to come to the level of Brahman. But then again, you can come back down to the material level. So what we're saying is, follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, become a devotee of Krishna, and then you transcend all your karma. Just like me. Why am I speaking like this? I'm not expert I wasn't born as a Brahmin or anything, but because I know the science, therefore Krishna's given me the mercy that I can repeat it to you all.
No, but okay. So I'll give you, like, I'm thinking of, okay, if I was Duryodhana, I would think that the kingdom is mine, and what he did was it's absolutely right. I mean, my father is a king, and I'm this versus them. So I'm thinking, like, and this is the same dilemma many times. Like, I justify myself doing anything I do. So I think that.
Why that? You know why you justify yourself? Because you're a rascal. You're a fool. You should learn that there's a principle of religion, and the principle of religion is that everything should be done for the pleasure of the Lord. Then you'll get out of this mentality, because otherwise, you're right. Good karma or bad karma, it's all bad. From a spiritual point of view, it's like stool. You can say, well, dry stool is better than wet stool. But after all, dry stool is also stool. So we want to transcend all karma and come to the level of Brahman. Then we can be happy. Then we can engage in pure devotional service. But as long as we're so much interested in karma, then we remain under the law of karma.
So then how do I go into
by taking spiritual activities. By adopting spiritual activities like chanting Hare Krishna and offering your food to Krishna. These kind of activities, you don't get any karma.
So by chanting and you said offering what?
Offering your food to Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakti prayachati. If you offer me in love and devotion, before you eat, have a picture of Krishna and offer your food to him, then you don't get any karma. Otherwise, the vegetarian also is getting karma. He's killing the vegetables. But if you offer to Krishna, then you transcend your karma. So, therefore, everything should be done for the pleasure of Krishna.
Okay. So for example, I eat meat. Okay. So should I, like, before eating meat, should I pray and that will
No,
make it?
because
So,
Krishna
so I'm
doesn't
not,
ask. Krishna doesn't ask for meat. He says, "Offer me a fruit or a flower, and I'll accept it." He doesn't ask for meat, so you can. He won't accept it.
Patram Phulam, and what do you
You'll
say?
never-
Yes.
okay. So I offer Krishna a fruit or flower,
Yeah, and give up meat eating.
and then can I eat anything? I mean, I'm
Come on.
I'm still
I'm
between
80
like karma
years old.
versus
I'm 80 years old almost. My health is perfect. I haven't had any meat in 50 years. That's a good point. You are what you eat. If you're eating, the dead flesh of animals, then you're going to adopt some of their qualities. You become like an animal.
So are there like certain things that I shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, yeah. And the number one is eating meat. Try to make a vegetarian diet for yourself.
Okay. All right. What else?
Chant Hare Krishna.
Chant Hare Krishna.
In other words, Prabhupada didn't stress even for the meat eaters. Let them eat meat, but let them chant Hare Krishna, and then gradually they'll lose their taste. Like Sanjay is saying, you'll get in harmony with yourself more and more, and then you'll realize that this is not proper food for me. It may be food. Yeah, like colon cancer.
See,
Why colon cancer? Because the animal who eats meat, they have a short intestines, like the dog and the cat. So the food is pushed out quickly. But we have long intestines, so the food stays in our body for a couple of days. And then the poison from the meat comes out and poisons us consciousness and poison our body. So we're not in harmony with our real self.
yeah. Okay. See, I was vegetarian for almost a month, and then I want to build muscles, and I didn't see the muscle growth. So I went back to eating meat. That's what happened.
Yeah, well, unfortunately. Yeah, therefore you need an association of others. Prabhupada created this association. So you can associate it with us at least once a week here, and then maybe you get a higher taste. You can give up that lower things. Okay, I'd like to leave now unless there's something, anybody has a question or comment? You can- The body, you're going to enjoy, and then you're also going to suffer. We don't say because we're devotees we won't have disease and death. They'll come to us also, but we'll be able to accept it without becoming, you can say, disturbed. Because we give the example of the mouth of the cat. The mouth of the cat is carrying a kitten. It's also carrying a mouse. So for the mouse, it's terrible, it's death. But for the kitten, it's natural, being carried by the mother. So for the devotee, they're also being carried into death, but they're not disturbed by that because they understand this is my last birth. Now I'm going to get a spiritual body. I don't have to come back to this world of birth and death. So they're leaving the body is joyful. We saw when Srila Prabhupada was leaving his body, we were there with him for those last few months. There was no anxiety in his heart. He was ready to stay or go because he said, whether I go, I serve Krishna. If I stay here, I serve Krishna. So he was happy to be a servant of Krishna. So he knew nothing could check that. Death can't check that. Okay, we'll stop here then. Thank you very much.